Well, social media influencers rose to popularity in the past decade or so, and the multi-billion-dollar market has more than doubled since 2019.
Yeah, I know that I have contributed buying things from influencers online, and you have also.
I have confessed.
What were one of your, okay, you said the eyebrows.
My recent one, I got a stamp for my eyebrows to darken them.
Yeah.
So it's a big mess. It's
I
like,
usually
it's like
buy
a bingo
makeup.
stamper.
Makeup samples or something,
Yeah.
and then clothing here and there.
And you don't know why.
One time that skinny girl tee, it didn't work.
Well, so there's been a lot of backlash recently to what influencers are posting, and it's led to a new trend called de-influencing. Joining us now to talk about the so-called influencer fatigue is business analyst and founder of 7 Stage Advisors, Carl Gould. Carl, welcome to the show.
I should have come to the show with my eyebrow.
I have the stamper. I can make that work. So put things into perspective. What is influencer marketing? What does that economy look like right now? And how much money are we really talking about?
Well, we're talking about billions of dollars, and just think back to the influencer is another word for a celebrity endorsement.
Sure.
And what we hope when we get an influencer is somebody who has vetted the product, uses the product, done the research, done all the fact checking, and are coming from a place of just sharing their experience and best practices and lessons learned with the product. But then there came a time when marketers realized, wait a minute, if I pay this influencer to talk about my product and they have a large audience and a high trust level already and credibility, it'll push my product to even more and to even more people. That was the decline of the influencer at that point. In other words, what's their agenda? Are they telling me they like it because it's really that good, or because they're getting paid? And so that ushered in the time of the de-influencer.
Okay, so Carl, let's talk a little bit more about that. Are you seeing a drop in the number of people now that are interested in what influencers are saying, especially if they're being paid to sell you something?
Yeah, so statistics show that the average person is 12% less likely to trust an influencer, and that same group of people will go to a de-influencer. And a de-influencer is really just a contrarian. They're a fact checker, if you will. And they'll say, wait a minute, not so fast. When I unpack the box of the brand new phone, here's what I find. And it's not all that's advertised. And so there have been the most notable one. You might remember some years ago, there was a woman who bought everything that Oprah advised that you buy for the entire year. And then she wrote a blog about how much did it actually change her life.
Right.
And at the end of that year found out, you know what, it didn't change it all that much.
Wow.
All right. Well, so let me ask you this. If this trend continues, which we see trends do that, what's the impact going to be, or is there going to be a real impact on the influencer marketing economy?
I think influencers are going to have to raise their game. In other words, their endorsement's not just going to be, hey, it's amazing, it's awesome, it crushes it. They're going to have research, and they're going to have to back it up with facts and studies. So this is actually very, very good for the consumer, because we have the de-influencer who's coming at this concept with their own research. And so now it's kind of like reviews on steroids. You'll have somebody giving a positive review, that's the influencer, somebody giving a negative review, that's the de-influencer. And hopefully they'll do it in such a way that we can compare facts and figures and real data, real case studies and use studies. So in the end, this will actually be very, very good for consumers.
So you still have to sift through all the information and do the work, research on your own. Okay, so we know, Carl, there are millions of influencers out there. So what actually happens to them? Will they still have a job, essentially?
They do. It's not going to be enough to just say, I love it, try it out, trust me. They're going to have to back it up. And so they're going to really have to up their game with the amount of time that they spend really learning the product, learning the service, and giving more of their experiences and more testing. And if they do that, they'll still maintain their credibility as an influencer and their trust level with their audience. They're just going to have to take it up a notch.
Okay, one question. Do de-influencers get paid?
The de-influencers, interesting. As of now, the de-influencer's not getting paid. Right now, what they're doing is they are trying to build an audience. That's usually why they're doing it. However, It's a great question, because the next phase is
Yep.
Ford is going to pay a de-influencer to talk about the person who talks about Dodge and Chevrolet.
Yeah, be honest about our product. We want you to be honest about our product. You just, that's it. That's going to change. Interesting.
Makes
well,
sense.
A lot to think about. Carl, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon.
And yes, I'm happy. I'm glad it was useful.
Yeah, absolutely. We will definitely have you back. Take care.
Take care now.